What I saw with what Tyler Reddick did on Sunday, in the past, everyone loves game winning hits. They love game winning shots. They love game winning walk offs in any sport. NASCAR is no different than any other sport. And on Sunday, with the greatest athlete of all time as his boss in the attendance, we saw a walk off win in Homestead, Miami. Job well done by Tyler Reddick.
Powered by Riverside.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into a brand new episode of the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Codd, this week. No Vince, unfortunately, but Vince, if you're watching us on YouTube or watching me on YouTube, watching the podcast, all that, we wish you well. In regards to you losing your voice, unfortunately, it sucks because we had such a great race in stock for us this evening with our fans. But guys, we are post Homestead now in the NASCAR playoffs. We have a couple weeks left of the of the playoffs of the 2024 season. Coming down to the wire, really, really sad to see this season go. What a remarkable season it's been. And Sunday gave us another chapter in this beautiful 2024 season. So again, a couple of things before we kick tonight's show off. If you are enjoying what you're listening to and hearing our voices, obviously follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us. We do live stream episodes now. We love interacting with the fans live on air. So feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube. That's at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music, which those are our OGs. You guys already know. You've been with us for a while. If you're new to the show, you don't really have YouTube, follow us on one of those three providers. Follow us on our social media pages as well. Facebook, The Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. And of course, we have our TikTok brand at The Broken Wheel Bearing Pod. Feel free to follow us on TikTok as well. So before we jumped into the main event tonight, I wanted to get that off our plate. So with all that being said, guys, sit back, relax. It's going to be a loaded show on tap like we usually do. We got some show announcements. We got some fast headliners this week. And then we're going to kick things into our Homestead Miami race discussion. Tons of topics, by the way, coming out of the amazing race weekend in Miami. Oh man, I love that track. It's gorgeous. It's might be a show on the road in 2025. I'm just saying it's at the time frame. So we'll be talking a lot about the topics as well. If you're following us on YouTube on the live stream, feel free to chat with us. We'll try to get to the chats as fast as possible. Like I said, riding solo with you this evening. So sit back and relax. Here we go. Let's take the green flag out on tonight's episode. Show announcements. The first show announcement that we have this week, you've been hearing us talk about it for a couple weeks now. We are going to Martinsville. That's right, the paperclip. We posted this on our Facebook page, the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast, today. Upcoming shows we have tonight with all of you, post Homestead. Then we're going to be doing a live episode at Martinsville. Technology depending. Bear with us. It's probably our first time doing a live stream at the track. So we'll just bear with us. Like I said, our goal is to have a live stream. But yes, we'll be at Martinsville to do a live stream event. Hopefully you can join us at Martinsville if you're down at the race. We would love to have you join us. And we have a couple koozies to give out to our fans as well. Second show announcement this evening. Another one that you've been hearing us talk about for a couple weeks now. And I still continue wanting to take time out on every single episode, probably until the end of the season on this. And that is, honestly, to anyone impacted by Hurricane Milton or Hurricane Helene, my condolences out to all of you. We're thinking of you. We're wishing, great recoveries for every single one of you. Praying for you as well. Again, I said it for the last couple of weeks. I'll continue repeating myself on this one. I understand that condolences and prayers, they don't fix a home. They don't fix what you lost. And I get that. But sometimes maybe just the comfort of hearing somebody that you don't know, really, realistically, myself, it might just give you some, at least a little peace of mind that people do think for you or think of you in times of crisis. So again, I wanted to wish everybody who was impacted by Hurricane Helene and Milton, my thoughts, my prayers, my condolences are going to be with you. And folks, if you're listening to us on this show, you'll still continue to hear that every single week until the end of the season. So wrapping up some show announcements, let's get into our fan interaction zone from this past week. A couple questions I asked the audience coming out of Las Vegas. We had our Spotify poll question of the week last week, and that question was, is William Byron heating up at the right time? 50% of our fans on Spotify voted yes. William Byron is heating up at the right time. And then 50% of our fans said no, he is not heating up at the right time. Interested to hear the people that said no. As I mentioned last week with stats and everything, I wanted to have you discuss, I want you to chime in if you're listening to us on live stream. I gave you the stats last week. I think William Byron, personally to me, is heating up at the right time. Another top 10 this past week at Homestead. Right now, he is above the cut line. If the playoffs ended today, he'd be above the cut line. So I'm interested to see the people who said no. Feel free to chime in. Let us know why you said no in regards to William Byron not heating up at the right time. Our Facebook question of the week. Now, another week I got to eat a lot of crow, right? Facebook question of the week last week I asked was, is it worth winning the regular season points championship? Third year in a row, we now have seen the regular season champion struggle in the playoffs. So I definitely ate a lot of crow this past week, guys, on the race winner, who happened to be the regular season points champion. Neil, our good friend, he checked in on Facebook and said, since Reddick is my guy, I'll try not to be too biased. But yes, winning the regular season points championship is worth it. The 15 playoff points are huge. Without them, he wouldn't have even made it to the round of 8. And in Neil's question, I totally agree with what he just said. Him winning the regular season points championship 1,000% helped him advance through the round of 16, the round of 12, where he was struggling massively. He wrecks at Vegas. So he had enough points to at least attempt the round of 8. And clearly, we'll talk about him later in this show. We clearly have finally seen that regular season points championship pay off where it is deserved, and that was with Tyler Reddick. So continue answering our questions on Facebook at the Broken Wheelbarrow Podcast, our Spotify questions on Facebook, and answer our Spotify poll questions on Spotify when you listen to the episode. Also, again, this is why we're so excited about the live stream. If you are listening to us live on air, the fan interaction zone, please chime in. If I don't see your chat, that's fine. We'll get back to you probably towards the end of the episode and discuss some things from, we talked about in the fan interaction zone. Feel free to chime in. We definitely want to engage with all of you. I like the idea of live streaming. Let's get the answers. Let's get the question out right away because we can answer it instead of waiting for a week. So, but if you want to answer us on Facebook, again, Facebook, the Broken Wheelbarrow Podcast. Poll questions are always posted on Spotify. Just click after the episode is done. Just click on this yes or no to our poll question. So, all right, that's going to take out the green and white checker tonight on our fan interaction zone and show announcements. And now we are going to officially take the green flag out on the next segment of our episode tonight. And that is our sponsorship updates / fast headliners, courtesy of jski.com. Follow them on Facebook, X, or by web at www.jski.com. Sponsorship update number 1. If you're going to Martinsville, like us, Richard Petty and his family will serve as the Grand Marshals for the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville Speedway this Sunday. Update number 2. NASCAR conducts wet tire tests at Homestead, Miami. NASCAR held its first wet weather tire test at an intermediate track on Monday, and the first reports were positive. So, pretty exciting news that we're testing at 1.5 milers now with the wet weather tires. Homestead Miami is a 1.5 miler. That's pretty exciting because that could be a real big game changer at some of these tracks coming up in case of, Coke 600. If it gets rain delayed again, maybe we can get on the road a little bit with that. Update number 3, Team Penske, Shell, and Joey Logano Foundation to team up for hurricane relief at Martinsville this upcoming week. Pretty exciting news with that. I know, as I just mentioned, a lot of people impacted by Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene. Love to see more foundations team up and try to get some donations and help out citizens impacted by the hurricanes. Update number 4, Spire Motorsports, excuse me, folks, partners with Optic Gaming Gamebridge at Martinsville Speedway. Optic Gaming, founded in 2006, is an industry-defining global esports media and entertainment organization based in North Texas. Update number 5, 2-1 nicotine pouches will be sponsoring MBM Motorsports in the final 2 Cup races of 2024. Motorsports Business Management, MBM Motorsports, has signed 2-1 nicotine pouches to a multi-race sponsorship deal to conclude the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Update number 6, Jeremy Bullins, no longer crew chief at Wood Brothers. Team Penske says that Bullins is no longer with the organization and is pursuing other opportunities. Update number 7 for our fans, NASCAR officials award Bobby Allison with 85th Cup victory for winning Bowman Gray race in 1971. NASCAR today announced that Bobby Allison as the official winner of the NASCAR Cup Series Myers Brothers Memorial at Bowman Gray Stadium on August 6, 1971. The NASCAR record books have been updated to reflect Allison in sole possession of 4th place on the all-time Cup Series list with 85 wins. We'll come back to that in a second. Update number 8, Team Amerivet planning partial schedule in 2025. As for the team's on-track future, co-owner Becky Moody said 2025 will be its busiest season yet, as it plans on running anywhere between 15 to 17 races in 2025. So another small market team going to be coming up into the ranks, getting into some races. Update number 9, Michael Phelps will be the honorary pace car driver for NASCAR Cup Series Championship race at Phoenix next week. Update number 10, Myatt Snyder competing for DGM Racing at Martinsville. Myatt Snyder will be behind the wheel of the 91 Chevrolet Camaro for the upcoming NASCAR Xfinity Series playoff race at Martinsville Speedway. Snyder's longtime partner, Treetop, known for its apple juice and applesauce products, will serve as the primary sponsor for the Snyder's first start with DGM Racing this weekend at Martinsville. And then update number 11, Justin Allgaier and Brandt Professional Agriculture signed multi-year extension with JR Motorsport. So you will be seeing the Brandt sponsorship, this Brandt organization, back with Junior Motorsports and Justin Allgaier for the foreseeable future. So the one I wanted to get back to, folks, and again, all these sponsorship updates are courtesy of jski.com. Follow them at www.jski.com or on Facebook or by X. Going back to the Bobby Allison one. This one was really interesting when it came out. I didn't really know much about it. So if we have an older fan base that knows more about that race and Bobby Allison, feel free to chime in on our live stream if you're listening to us on live. Feel free to chat to us about it. This is very, like I said, this is very interesting. The reason why is because Bobby Allison is now credited for 85 wins in the Cup Series. For a while, there was a tie with a couple drivers at 84. Bobby Allison was one of them. So now to kind of officially get awarded the win, you kind of break that tiebreaker on the all-time NASCAR wins list. I'm interested to see why Bobby Allison was not deemed the winner at the time. Again, I would have to go back, watch the race again, if we have an older fans, anyone listening on the live stream app, if you remember watching that race, please share with us on the chat on why Bobby Allison at the time was not granted the win. But like I said, now this kind of breaks that tiebreaker up at the all-time NASCAR wins list. Let me pull that up in a second. But yeah, like I said, it's an interesting scenario with that in regards to why he was not deemed the winner at the time. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to read that. It was pretty cool to see that. I enjoyed that. Another article or another fast headliner, excuse me, folks, that I really thought was pretty cool was Spire Motorsports. And they were partnering with Optic Gaming, Gamebridge at Martinsville Speedway. We knew Gamebridge was going to be entering the sport at some capacity. They've been with Spire Motorsports for a while now. Justin Haley obviously ran a couple Gamebridge teams since he's come over to Spire Motorsports. But to see Optic Gaming to come into NASCAR, industry-defining global esports media and entertainment organization that's based in North Texas, we always talk about it, right? As NASCAR fans, we want to see our sport grow. We want to continue bringing more and more eyes and growing the sport. And bringing a organization like Optic Gaming could be critical for a younger demographic. There's a lot of people who really enjoy iRacing. I think it'd be a great idea to continue growing into that industry. I think it's a good move by Spire Motorsports. I'm looking forward to the sponsorship as well. And as we discussed, NASCAR conducts wet tire test at Homestead. Again, that is very critical because we already have kind of this wet weather tire package on the short tracks, the road courses at least. To see this now be tested on a 1.5, such as Homestead, I get it. It's a little bit different than the D-shaped, like Charlotte's, the D-shaped Texas of the world. But I'm all on board of trying to get these races in on the scheduled date. I'm tired of weather delays, and I don't think we'll ever get wet weather tires at Daytona. We'll never get wet weather tires at Talladega. Probably Atlanta's out just because of the restrictor plate, but to see more testing to be done on these wet weather tires is really cool. And again, we're all about growing this wonderful sport with more fans and try to keep the schedule moving along as much as possible. So again, all sponsorship updates courtesy of jski.com. Follow them on Facebook, X, or by web, www.jski.com. So, okay, we're going to take the green and white checkered this evening on our Broken Woolberry news dump. We're going to be fast headliners. No big article this week. There was rumblings of something in the works. I couldn't confirm it before the episode, and I didn't want to present it on air. We're hoping because of multiple episodes this week, right? We've got tonight, Sunday at Martinsville, next Tuesday. Hopefully that information I was looking at, hopefully that gets confirmed and finalized, and I can share that information with all of you on Sunday at Martinsville. So no article of the week. I think it's the first time since I started this podcast that there's no article of the week, which is kind of nice, but the fast headliners are a lot quicker. They're a lot fun, but I do miss the articles of the week. So we're actually going to take the green and white checkered on that. And while we do that, I'm going to check our YouTube chat. We have some fans that chimed in. Want to get you the recognition on there. Our studio chat. I'm sorry, clicked the wrong one. Tri-Oval. If you didn't like what went down on Sunday, then you're not a fan of racing in any way. That was amazing. Oh man, that is exciting news for the 1.5 mile tracks and weather. Tri-Oval, completely agree with you on that. As I said, it's exciting with the 1.5 milers getting some wet weather tire action, and hopefully we can keep the schedule moving along, especially if there's some race, weather, especially if there's weather that's going to impact the race. The one, before we get to Homestead, off topic, but when I think of the wet weather tires and I think of races that were scheduled that went on for days, I think as NASCAR fans, I always think of that 2020 playoff race at Texas, right? It just felt like we were down there for like 20 days, even though we weren't. We were down there for, I think the green flag dropped. They got through, I believe, 37 to 60 laps, somewhere in that time frame. And then all of a sudden, the ice and the rain came through. And then we were down there. It was supposed to be ran on Monday. It was supposed to be ran on Tuesday. And I think by Wednesday, they had an opening like Wednesday at 4 o'clock down there. And this is, and I get NASCAR will never race on ice. Don't get that confused. They're never going to race on a torrential downpour. They're just going to, if the track's wet, they're going to keep it rolling. But I think that's why I'm pretty excited about these wet weather tires on a 1.5. I don't think that it's necessary that we're down there for so many days. Now, granted, it was one time over the last 4 years. I can remember that we were down at a track for weather that bad. But another track I think of is like Dover, right? Being from the southeast corner of Pennsylvania, Dover, being at the time of the year it was, would always have this stupid rainstorm. Always have this stupid rainstorm. And what's funny is this year it didn't get rained out. But in years past, right? Because we usually get where I live, I usually get the same weather as Dover. And when Dover race weekend would happen, like Saturday would always be perfect. It would be gorgeous. That whole week before would be gorgeous. And then Sunday would roll around and there'd be a torrential downpour. So I think that's why I'm excited about the wet weather tires. Is for like tracks like that. Same with Texas. And so I'm hoping NASCAR is able to expand their wet weather tire portfolio, to say the least. So, all right. Let's take the green flag onto our Homestead race weekend. And man, oh man, what a weekend it was down in the Sunshine State of Florida at one of my favorite tracks, to be honest with you, Homestead, Miami. We're going to discuss winners real quick. Grant Enfinger won the Baptist Health 200 on Sunday. Austin Hill ended up winning the Credit One NASCAR Amex Credit Card 300 on Saturday as well. And Tyler Reddick ended up winning the Straight Talk 400 on Sunday. So let's get into some BWB thoughts this week. Topic number one, and that is triple header weekend down in Miami. We'll kick things off on Saturday's action with some Grant Enfinger discussion. Very impressive, folks. Very impressive stretch for me from Grant Enfinger as he clinched his spot into the Truck Final Four by winning Talladega a few weeks back. What does he do after he wins Talladega? Well, he follows it up with a nice win at Homestead, Miami. So Grant Enfinger has now won back-to-back races. So in this round in the Truck Series playoffs. He won Stage 2 on Saturday, led a total of 32 laps out of the 134 laps. So he wasn't really the most dominating truck, but he was a truck that, to me, was able to just find his way to the front at all costs. I think going into the Truck Series playoffs, I think all of us on this podcast, all of our fans, have kept saying, Corey Heim, Christian Eckes, this is how the year's going to go. They're just going to dominate. They're going to get themselves right into the championship four. Corey Heim has been really good. Christian Eckes has been very good as well, right? Corey Heim led 68 laps on Saturday's truck race. He was a really good truck. But I'm really starting to like what I see from Grant Enfinger. Not a dominating truck, like I said. Not a truck that I'm like, oh, wow, Grant Enfinger has been complete, total dominating this year. But a driver that is able to get to the front, stay in the front, and take care of business. And I think that's why I really like what Grant Enfinger has done the last 2 weeks. Talladega, always going to be a wild card. No matter what way you put it. Everybody's got a shot at winning Talladega. I like what Grant Enfinger did at Homestead better. I do. And the reason why is because it takes talent to win at some of these tracks. Not super speedways. Super speedways are a talent within itself. But it's different to win at a super speedway than a 1.5 like Homestead. It has been, like I said, it's been a remarkable back-to-back race stretch for Grant Enfinger, and I do strongly believe he is now becoming a driver that is getting momentum at the right time. He's starting to heat up and could, I'm not saying will, but could possibly overcome the dominance of Corey Heim and Christian Eckes. One thing I think that a lot of people forget too, Grant Enfinger was in the championship 4 last year at Phoenix, number one. Number two, he almost won the championship race at Phoenix in that debacle of a race where it was caution after caution after caution. I like what Grant Enfinger has become and what he's doing late in the season. I do give him a very good possibility of beating out Corey Heim and Christian Eckes. Do I think it will happen? Probably not, but I like the ability of the driver. Final announcement, final truck race for the round of 8 will be Friday at Martinsville. So Martinsville, oh boy, it's going to be an exciting weekend down there. As we were talking about the lower level series, let's talk about the Xfinity series. And how about Austin Hill? Well done by Austin Hill, folks. Well done. We, aka myself, on the Broken Wheel Bearing podcast, have been ultra critical of what Austin Hill is in the Xfinity series. To me, this year, Austin Hill has won 3 restrictor plate races and then he won Homestead this past weekend. I think the one thing I look at when I watch Austin Hill is that it was difficult to root for a guy like that because the temper tantrum they threw at Charlotte with Cole Custer, complaining about colleague racing at Coda, but he's been really quiet since. We really haven't heard much about it. Saturday, Austin Hill ends up winning the Credit One NASCAR Amex Credit Card 300 over Cole Custer. Austin Hill, folks, started this race in 16th. He was the lowest qualifying playoff driver in Saturday's race. Austin Hill ended up winning stage 1 and stage 2 while leading 82 laps. But it's what he was able to do at the end of the race that was very impressive for me. With 11 laps to go, Austin Hill passed Cole Custer for the lead and came across the checkered flag at 3.05 seconds ahead of Cole Custer. So not just did he get the lead, but then he put distance on himself between himself and Cole Custer. And I think that was really what was impressive because here's a guy that I think a lot of us in the community don't know or like as a prospect. And what do I mean by that? Well, again, restrictor plate racing is a special talent. Look at Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Look at Michael Waltrip. It's a talent. It's a skill set. But when I look at the skill set, how does that translate to a championship? And it doesn't. Because you're going to have to win on a race, on a track that's non-restrictor plate. To me, I think what's amazing, like I said, is that how he overcame, winning this race, but then putting distance on a track that he's really not notorious for running well at, over Cole Custer, who has been massively consistent all season long. It was impressive what Austin Hill did, and that's why I'm saying I got to give him a lot of credit for somebody, like I said, myself, who gives him a lot of shit all season long. As I mentioned, the temper tantrum in Charlotte, the, crying about colleague racing, only winning at restrictor plate races. Well, he proved a lot of people wrong on Saturday, I keep saying Sunday. And the one thing that's really cool for Austin Hill, 2024 will be the first time he will race in a championship at Phoenix. Now, we have 2 tickets punched for the championship at Phoenix in the Xfinity Series with Austin Hill and AJ Allmendinger. I think 2 drivers a lot of people saw and felt like they could be championship caliber drivers, but I feel like a lot of people in the community felt like they were a step below. I feel like a lot of people were much higher on Chandler Smith, Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier. Well, folks, Austin Hill and AJ Allmendinger punched their ticket by winning the last 2 races. And if the championship or if the playoff cutoff was this past weekend, one of these drivers, Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier, or Chandler Smith, would not be making the playoffs. Now, we have one more race left in the Xfinity Series season before the championship race. And what I find fascinating is that there's 6 guys that could still win that race at Martinsville. Could you imagine a scenario where Justin Allgaier, who won a ton of stages all season long, Cole Custer, who completely was leading the points for a while, and Chandler Smith, who has won a couple of races in the Xfinity Series. Could you imagine if one of those guys does not make the championship 4? This is exactly what NASCAR wants. NASCAR wants whoever makes the playoffs to have the ability to get to a championship run, just like in any other sport. We talked about it last week, right? You gotta have a hot goaltender. You have a hot pitcher. You gotta have hot bats. Your defense gets hot at the end of the NFL season. You can run that through the playoffs. It's no different than NASCAR. You could end up getting somebody that has the ability to hit the right momentum at the right time. Doesn't matter what you did in the regular season. What have you done for me over in the Cup series? It's 10 races. In the Xfinity series, it's what, 6? 6 races, I think. Yeah, 6 races. Or 7, excuse me, 7, sorry. So that's what I'm saying. It's fun. Austin Hill, AJ Allmendinger ended up punching their ticket. They were both below the cut line. And like I said, I guess my Spotify poll question of the week is going to be, and you can answer if you're listening to us on live stream right now on YouTube, you can answer this question on live. Out of these 3 drivers, which one is the one that gets eliminated from the Xfinity Series Championship 4? Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier, or Chandler Smith? And again, you can vote now if you're listening to us live, or you can wait until the episode is posted on Spotify and vote there. And again, the Spotify poll question of the week is going to be, out of these 3 drivers, which driver gets eliminated, or which driver does not make the championship 4 in the Xfinity Series? And that's Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier, or Chandler Smith. So hoping to get some good answers back from our poll question of the week. And again, credit to where credit's due. Austin Hill, I gave you a lot of hate this whole season. Well done. Well done. And well earned. I listened to the press conference or the post-race interview, and it was emotional because he was taking it all in. So great job by Austin Hill. So, all right. Point number 2 coming from the BWB thoughts coming out of Homestead, Miami this weekend. We're going to talk about it. Tyler Reddick, point number 2. 2024 regular season championship ends up pulling off a walk-off win at Homestead, Miami. And when I mean walk-off, it was a walk-off. And there's a picture. So obviously we all know 23XI, who is owned by Michael Jordan, is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And it had me thinking, right? What is Michael's most iconic picture in a playoff game? And it's him against Utah hitting that shot against the Jazz in the NBA Finals. To me, Reddick passing Ryan Blaney on the final turn of Homestead felt like that Michael Jordan shot. And I will post both those pictures on Facebook so you guys understand what I'm talking about after you get done listening to this episode. But it's absolutely outstanding what Tyler Reddick was able to do on Sunday at Homestead. Folks, we're going to go into some depth on this one with the driver of the 45. And we have some Reddick fans that listen to this episode, so you guys are going to be in heaven listening to me talk about Tyler Reddick this week. I picked him in the summer to win the championship. I believe it was coming out of the Olympic break. I said, I believe Tyler Reddick is the strongest car that's going to end up winning the championship. Now, these playoffs have not instilled any confidence in me on my pick at all. And again, the playoffs have created a ton of doubt. He was below the cut line entering Homestead after wrecking at Las Vegas. He was ranked 7th in the points, just ahead of Chase Elliott, who ended up having issues himself. And the one thing he did, he went to Homestead and they didn't mess around whatsoever. He went in, he banged out and won the pole for this race. Again, I ran the numbers for all of you last week. I showed you guys and I told you guys Tyler Reddick is falling apart. And I feel like an idiot for saying that because he was my championship pick. My whole thing with Tyler Reddick was it was completely abysmal entering this past weekend in Miami. He had an average finish coming out of Vegas of 20.7 with only one top 10 in the 2024 playoffs. Going into Homestead, Tyler Reddick ended up having 5 finishes of 20th or worse in those 7 playoff races. But you know what the beautiful thing about the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs is? All it takes is a win and get in. And that's what the driver of the 45 did on Sunday. Massive heartbreak for the remaining drivers of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, outside Joey Logano, because Logano clinched last week. Massive heartbreak for all of the other drivers in the 2024 Cup Series playoffs. But this, to me, felt like NASCAR's Michael Jordan moment. And like I said, there's that picture of Michael in the NBA Finals against Utah. And then I look at Tyler Reddick passing Ryan Blaney on the high line coming out of turns 3 and 4. Tyler Reddick also led a race high of 97 laps and won stage 1 while finishing stage 2 in 4th. With the pressure of Michael Jordan on the pit box, Billy Scott, to me, I thought made a very aggressive call, but a call that was like, if it works, it works. We're banking on getting a caution, and if it doesn't, well, that's the end of our day. And eventually, Tyler Reddick ended up having the pit. He ends up yielding the lead over to Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson, who are now duking it out. And then a blessing came out of the middle of nowhere. Kyle Larson got very aggressive, tried to get around Ryan Blaney, instead tries to squeeze his car between Blaney and Austin Dillon, and ends up just getting aero blocked and ends up getting the car to spin around. During this caution sequence, Tyler Reddick was the only one not to pit because he just pitted for tires maybe 7 laps before. That's it. So Billy Scott made a decision to pull Tyler Reddick into banking on getting a caution. They didn't get the caution before they pitted, but what they got was the biggest blessing. A caution 6 to 7 laps after they pitted. So their tires are still brand new and fresh. Final green flag waves, and the battle was between Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney. Absolutely incredible battle between Blaney and Hamlin. Blaney ends up getting around Denny Hamlin for the lead, but in the closing laps, and the guys at NBC kept saying it. Jeff Burton, Steve Letarte, Lee Diffie, they kept saying it. They're like, the 45 is gaining ground. Those tires and that high wall riding line is pushing so much momentum on that 45. Tyler Reddick gets rid of Denny Hamlin quickly and then sets himself up for a game winner. And what ends up happening? Tyler Reddick goes around the high line where Blaney goes low, Reddick goes high, and the momentum carries him into victory lane. Again, this to me is NASCAR's version of a total walk-off win in the bottom of the 9th. Or with the game on the line, tied 98-98 with 0.3 seconds left in the game, and Michael makes that shot. That was NASCAR's version of all of that. This was the most remarkable thing I could recall watching in a NASCAR race outside of restrictor plates and all that type of stuff. Again, Billy Scott, to me, I thought made the right call by running it on green flag laps until Reddick couldn't go any longer. And then eventually Reddick pits. Larson gets impatient. Flag comes out for a spin. Reddick comes from mid-pack to right in the thick of things. And what does he do? He capitalizes. And for me, all the stats and all the data I presented to you about how bad Tyler Reddick's playoff season has been, eliminated. Because all it takes is just a win and get in. And everything else doesn't matter. Tyler Reddick was phenomenal at the end of that race. And as Trioval Life said on our live chat, he said it best. He's like, listen, if you don't like that type of racing, I don't know what to tell you. We'll talk about Homestead in another topic coming up later in this episode, but credit to where credit's due. Tyler Reddick back against the wall with your boss, the greatest basketball player to ever play, watching over you, and came up in so many game time moments. You get it done. Well done. And I love what Michael Jordan even said. He's like, that little dude drove his ass off. I love it, man. I really do. So credit to, congratulations to Tyler Reddick, 23XI, Billy Scott. First time that organization will be racing in a championship four. First time Tyler Reddick makes it to the championship four. A lot of people were excited about Tyler Reddick as a prospect. I was too. Really did not like how he handled the departure of RCR, but then I've watched RCR basically do some stupid stuff post Tyler Reddick, and I can understand why he left for Team Toyota. So great job by Tyler Reddick. Great job by 23XI. And incredible work. Topic number 3 for me coming out of Homestead, Miami. Well, we talked so highly about what Tyler Reddick did and how he won this race. Let's talk about the driver who ended up not getting the benefit of the doubt, and that's Ryan Blaney. Absolute heartbreak for Ryan Blaney this week. I'm sorry, folks. I'm chewing gum. I have to say this. And first, I have no clue what he was thinking, taking the low line while Reddick was gaining speed in the high line. I have to say that was terrible work by Tim Fetterwall, Ryan Blaney's spotter. Terrible work. You have now gotten multiple laps of data, right? Okay, your driver's in the lead. Ryan Blaney's in the lead and all that type of stuff. You're starting to see that 45 creep around the high line. He's gaining a lot of speed. His tires are, all the tires are basically back on par with each other. And you going into turns 3 and 4 with a championship 4 appearance on the line with the ticket that could possibly be punched. You told your driver to take the low lane. And maybe the thought process, and I understand it, it's NASCAR's chess. It's chess for the lead. Your thought process is probably like, well, we go low because if we don't go low, then he's going to go low and he's going to be able to whip around the low lane. But Tyler Reddick, for a couple laps, did not show you that he was going low. Tyler Reddick, you did not break the momentum off of Tyler Reddick. He kept showing you his playbook. And Tim Fetterwall decided to go, you know what, Ryan, we're going to stay low and we're going to win this race. Instead, Reddick ends up on the high line, whips around Ryan Blaney. I mean, listen, I texted Vince throughout the race, and I literally looked at him, and I texted him at the end of this race, and I literally go, dude, the laws of physics looks like Ryan Blaney is stalled. And Tyler Reddick looks incredibly fast on the front. Like, it literally looks like Reddick's driving, and Ryan Blaney looks like he's just stalled out. Ryan Blaney, to me, did so much in this race. So much good. And so much right. He could have nearly gotten wrecked by his buddy Chase Elliott, which was a little odd how they were racing. I get that they're both below the cut line, but that was just a weird sequence. And for the most part, Ryan Blaney did a very good job when he got into the lead, holding the lead. I was interested to see how that chess matchup would have been between him and Kyle Larson, But again, Kyle Larson did get impatient and ended up wrecking. I would have been excited to see how they would have gotten around lap traffic together. But like I said, he did so much good and so much right in this race at a track he's not good at, really, until last year. Ryan Blaney led 47 total laps, flashed a ton of speed in the long run. That's where his car was best. Hands down, his car was the best in the long run. He started 20th in this race, ended up getting in the top 10 within the first 50 laps. Ryan Blaney also finished stage 1 in 4th and stage 2 in 5th. Similar to Tyler Reddick, who ended up winning this race, so a lot of it's going to be, done, or a lot of the bad playoff stats are going to be pretty much thrown out the window at this point because he's locked in Championship 4. Ryan Blaney's not. Ryan Blaney's 2024 playoffs have been really inconsistent roller coaster. Imagine a roller coaster. It just goes up, down, up, down. That's Ryan Blaney all season long. Or all playoff long, right? Entering Homestead, Blaney had an average finish of 18.8. That's not going to cut it and win a championship. It's just not. But leaving Homestead, Miami, he's got a 16.75 average finish now. Problem is that he came up just short, but was able to collect the second place finish. With the second place finish, as mentioned, it raised his average finish to 16.75. But folks, if you're a Ryan Blaney fan, I deem this now officially he is in must-win mode at Martinsville. But if you're a Blaney fan, the benefit of doubt for me is that Ryan Blaney goes to Martinsville. Ryan Blaney is an absolute terror at Martinsville. I like the 12 car going to Martinsville in a must-win situation. So if you're a Blaney fan, don't give up hope just yet. Unfortunately, this roller coaster playoff has definitely given Blaney fans a little heartburn. I would definitely say that. But I do like Ryan Blaney going into Martinsville. Topic number 4 coming out of Homestead. And we're going to talk about another driver who, again, had an opportunity to win this race. And that's Denny Hamlin. Another driver who entered the race at Homestead below the cut line this weekend. Finished stage 1 in 7th. He ended up winning stage 2. Denny Hamlin had a very interesting strategy to me, honestly. Him and Chris Gabehart stayed out on older tires while the rest of the field pitted a few laps earlier. So while the field pitted, Hamlin ended up staying out to try to collect enough distance between him and himself. So when he did pit, he had a shorter distance on fresher tires on the leaders. It was a really, really great strategy from the 11 car. I thought that was probably going to be the winning move. I did for a while. And even the guys in the NBC booth, they said it best. They're like, this could end up winning them the race because of this strategy. Like I said, I like the call on what they did, and I really wish the Larson spin did not happen because I felt that if Larson and Blaney, who were fighting for the lead before the spin, I felt like if with them battling each other for the lead, Hamlin was coming in that stretch before Kyle Larson spun out. And I really, really felt that with lap traffic, Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney battling each other, Denny Hamlin might have had enough time and enough laps to shave off the distance to capture the race lead and the race win because he was on fresher tires. Caution comes out, the field pits for tires. On the following restart, Denny Hamlin takes the lead and then gets passed by Ryan Blaney. Once the pass from Blaney happened, I kind of felt like that was the end of the day for the number 11 car of Denny Hamlin. I felt like that Blaney was just too strong in the front in that front or the front parts of that race or in that early stages of the green flag. It kind of felt like for me, like I said, I felt like Denny Hamlin was kind of done once Ryan Blaney passed him, and it looked like he was going to be closing up shop basically to head down to Martinsville. Denny Hamlin ends up finishing third in this race and now sits minus 18 points below the cut line. A better situation than Ryan Blaney in the points, but Denny Hamlin, folks, just like Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, to me, is a must-win situation at Martinsville on Sunday at the Xfinity 500. So, okay. Final points coming out of Homestead Miami Speedway. Closing points from Homestead. A round of applause. Let's give a round of applause there. Round of applause to all the playoff drivers, honestly. Chase Elliott led 81 laps, had great speed throughout that race. Unfortunately, just came up short. We talked about Reddick, we talked about Hamlin, we talked about Blaney already. But Kyle Larson, before the spin, he had issues by hitting the wall. He had a tire go flat early in the race, ended up running through the field and put himself in a position to win on Sunday. If he doesn't spin, like I said, who knows what could have happened. I do think that he eventually gets around Blaney and ends up winning that race, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. Larson is -5 in the points now below the cut line, and I got friends that are Kyle Larson fans, and they were just like, this is the most dominant car and all that type of stuff. And we'll talk about the NASCAR system in a second. Don't want to jump too far into that. William Byron, he ended up finishing 8th in stage 1 and 6th in stage 2. And finally, Christopher Bell, who finished this race in 4th. We talked about it last week. Christopher Bell is on an outstanding run in these playoffs right now. Absolutely outstanding run in these playoffs with top 5s. And, only one finish below 10th, and that was a 14th at Watkins Glen. So, Christopher Bell, now has an average finish in the 2024 playoffs at 5.5 with 5 top 5s and 7 top 10. So eventually, like I said, Christopher Bell, I said this after Vegas, I'm looking at him as a guy who could win. And I think he's going to need to win. But what he's done in these playoffs, again, when you keep your car in the front of the pack, eventually Lady Luck is going to find you. Eventually, you would hope. So, only driver that was non-existent on Sunday was Joey Logano. Finished this race in 28th. Already clinched a win at Las Vegas, so no harm there. This is not a Joey Logano track. He struggles massively at Homestead. This was not a surprise whatsoever. So, and finally, 2 topics of conversation as well. Homestead. I'm going to ask the audience this. This is going to be our Facebook question of the week. Is Homestead NASCAR's best track on the schedule? And if you're listening to us on our live stream, feel free to open up the chat. Chat is wide open for you to answer the question. Is Homestead NASCAR's best track? And for me, I'm going to say Homestead Miami is probably outside the restrictor plate tracks. I love Homestead. I think Homestead is, I don't want to say it's the best right now, but it's becoming one of the best tracks NASCAR has on the schedule. I'm starting to believe, and again, we saw Homestead have an early date in 2025 on the Cup Series schedule in anticipation of eventually getting the championship race back there in 2026. Homestead Miami is going to be doing massive renovations, and they're going to be doing they're going to be working on the track to get it prepped for 2026 championship run. I would love to see Homestead back as the championship race at this point. I believe that Phoenix does a great job. I think the city does a great job, but I think the championship race at Phoenix has gotten a little staled out. I would like to see Homestead get another opportunity because the last couple years since it's coming off that championship date back in 2019 was the last championship race. So 2020 provided a great race in June during COVID. In 2021, we had it in February where William Byron ended up winning. It was a great race again. 2022, we had Kyle Larson completely dominate. That was a great race. 2023, last year, we had a great race with Christopher Bell. And then this year, we had a great race as well. The one thing I love about Homestead Miami is that it's very colorful. It's very vibrant. It attracts my eyes and it brings the audiences to the track. I keep saying that we're going to be doing a couple of shows on the road in 2025, but Homestead has been in consideration. I would like to probably save Homestead till it becomes a championship race again, but I think that Homestead is one of the NASCAR jewels. Not a crown jewel, but I think it's one of NASCAR's jewels. It provides incredible racing. The banking's perfect. I think Dale Jr. once said it on a tweet too. He said, if you love Homestead Miami Speedway, you would have loved Old Atlanta. And when you watch Old Atlanta races, and I think that's why a lot of fans of any sort that love this sport fall in love with this track a lot, because it reminds them of older Atlanta, but it's also a very fast-paced, high-bank track where you can run multiple grooves. And I think that's what NASCAR wants and NASCAR needs. They need tracks like Homestead on the schedule. I want to see drivers run multiple grooves. I don't want to see basically everyone running the low line or running the high line, and that's it. There'll be repercussions if you run either one of them. So Homestead absolutely is one of NASCAR's best tracks. And again, that will be our Facebook question of the week. Is Homestead NASCAR's best track on the schedule? So, and then my final point before we shut it down tonight's episode, the playoffs system again has been discussed by multiple people, and how a lot of fans are very disappointed in it. I'm gonna end the Homestead Miami discussion with this, right? NASCAR, this playoff system is perfect. It's perfect. I'm sorry. It is. And why is it perfect? Well, every sport in this country sits there and goes, well, we're going to seed our teams up and we're going to play to see who can go into a championship. NASCAR for years said, well, we're going to do who could be the most consistent throughout the whole entire schedule. Let me ask the audience this. Do you remember Matt Kenseth's 2003 championship? Is that a remarkable sports championship in this country's history? If you're a Kenseth fan, of course it is. Of course it is. But Matt Kenseth had one win. One. And it was at Vegas. It was week 3 of the season. And ends up, because of his consistency, clinches the championship at Rockingham that year. They had another race. They had another race to go to at Homestead. Dale Jarrett even said it. He's like, I clinched my 1999 championship at Homestead Miami. They still had another race to go. When NASCAR enacted this year, put this system in place, right? When they put this system in place, their goal was to make every race feel important going into the championship 4. We have now had this system in place since 2014. When it first got put in place, we had Ryan Newman, who was winless, almost, go down to Homestead Miami and was a championship favorite. Or could have won a championship, excuse me. This system, to me, has produced some of the most memorable NASCAR moments / memories in the sport's history. And what do I mean by that? Okay, well, let's run through a couple of these championships, right? 2023, we'll look last year, 2023. Ryan Blaney, this system, Ryan Blaney did enough to get himself into a fighting opportunity and chance at Martinsville to win the race and go out to Phoenix and go win. And he did. Well, he won the championship. He didn't win Phoenix. 2022, Joey Logano. Okay, same thing. Logano, below cut line, ends up winning Vegas. Ends up going out to Phoenix, wins the championship. 2021, okay, everyone that sat there and said they wanted consistency and they wanted the best driver to win the championship. Well, you got it with Kyle Larson. But then fans complained that, he won too much. 2020, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick dominated COVID year. Chase Elliott goes down back against his wall in Martinsville. He was 7th in the points. Goes down there, dominates Martinsville, and ends up winning the championship in 2020. Kyle Busch, 2019, memorable moments. I look at And it kind of ties it into what we see at Martinsville. Martinsville is one of the most critical races of the season in the fall. That elimination race. Think about it since it's been in the round of 8. Mayhem at Martinsville, 2017. Denny, Hamlin, Chase Elliott. Fighting for a championship. 2018. Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr. beating and banging to the start-finish line. 2019. William Byron trying to win his first race. Martin Truex Jr. gets around him. 2020. Chase Elliott goes down there back against his wall and wins the race. 2021. Alex Bowman. Denny Hamlin. We can go on and on and on. And why are these moments made? Because it's like any other sport. Moments like this were created by the playoff system that NASCAR set. And for the fans that complain about consistency and all that type of stuff in NASCAR, oh, well, we want consistency. They need to reward consistency more and all that type of stuff. This win format's stupid. I get it. Austin Dillon winning the race he did in Richmond was kind of stupid. So I have a solution for you. In order to be playoff eligible, you need to be 25th or higher in the points if you win a race. That's it. Done. But in the playoffs, anything can happen. It's just like any other sport. Football, baseball, hockey, basketball. Don't we as NASCAR fans want our sport to be recognized for our athletes' success with backs against the wall? Don't we want that opportunity to showcase our sport? You may disagree with the playoff system, but this playoff system has done a great job of providing special moments and incredible, memorable memories of events that happened. This system has done a great job of creating those sport-like, picture-perfect moments. It means more every single race when you're in the playoffs. Every single race is so critical for all these drivers. And especially in the round of 8, right? We have 8 guys still left in the playoffs that at any moment could win the damn race. And I understand, listen, there's one more new winner this week in Martinsville. I mean, right now, Christopher Bell's the guy at the cut line. He's third in the points, and he'd probably be the guy that makes it off of points. With all that being said, we have a race coming up in Martinsville because of this playoff system that now we have, 6 drivers vying for 2 spots? And every single one of those 6 drivers can win this race on Sunday. On Sunday, they can win the race. Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Christopher Bell, they've all won here. And I got fans sitting there complaining about how the system sucks because we want consistency. And again, I will ask our fans one last time. Do you remember Dale Jarrett's 1999 championship? Do you remember the 2003 moments of Matt Kenseth's championship? Do you remember Bobby Labonte's moments of his 2000 championship? No. No. The reason why we remember probably Jeff Gordon the most is because they won. 2002, Tony Stewart won the championship with 3 wins. But we're complaining about the system now that we may have a champion in the NASCAR series in 3 weeks that only had 2 wins or 3 wins. But we want the system to look like that. With all that being said, our playoff system is, to me, perfect. It gave us a moment like it did on Sunday at Homestead, Miami. A driver against his wall and ends up pulling the upset and punches his ticket into Phoenix. I don't want to hear about how the playoff system sucks anymore. with all that being said, we're going to take the checker flag on tonight's episode and coming out of Homestead, Miami. A shorter episode this week. We're not going to give any picks this week for all of our fans. We will be doing that with you down in Virginia in Martinsville before the Xfinity 500 on Sunday. That's right, Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Again, we will be down in Martinsville live streaming an episode for all of you to listen and hopefully be a part of the broadcast. And would love to do that for all of you. So with all that being said, again, we'll be down with you on Martinsville. We'll keep you guys all updated on where we're at the track. Come by, swim by our tent, come by, pick up a koozie, come by and, just enjoy the conversation with us at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast before we get you set for the Xfinity 500. Again, picks will be announced on Sunday, not tonight's episode. Sorry if you're listening for the picks, but they will be announced on Sunday while we do the live stream at Martinsville. We did one at Daytona. I'm looking forward to it at Martinsville with you, the fan, in the background. So if you love what you're hearing from us at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast, again, subscribe to us on YouTube. We have the live stream going on Tuesday nights. Off season will be coming up, so we'll be changing some things up a little bit. But subscribe to us on YouTube at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. You have to type it in the search bar at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast, because if not, you're going to get Broken Wheel Bearing videos on how to change it. Follow us if you have TikTok, follow us on TikTok at the Broken Wheel Bearing Pod. Facebook, the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. That Facebook page is popping, folks. If you love what you hear and you want to interact with us quickly, chime on in and follow us on Facebook at the Broken Wheel Bearing Podcast. Finally, smash the follow button, the like button on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and of course our OG source, Spotify. With all that being said, I'm hoping to see a lot of you down in Martinsville on Sunday. It should be a beautiful day in Virginia. I'm looking forward to being with you. I hope you enjoyed tonight's conversation. Like I said, rolling solo this week just because of Vince's throat. Hopefully we get him on the episode on Sunday. If not, he'll be back with us next week. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to chatting with all of you in the near future, maybe next week, hopefully down in Martinsville. With all that being said, have a wonderful and safe night. Enjoy your upcoming week, fall's time, and we'll chat next week. Or we'll chat on Sunday. Excuse me. We'll chat on Sunday. Live at Martinsville. Good night.
Will you tell Mr. Denny that Ricky Bobby is my best friend? And it's shaking big time.